When NATO prepares for a modern airborne assault, the operation does not begin with the sound of aircraft engines or the dramatic opening of parachutes over hostile ground, but inside secure command facilities where alliance planners analyze layered intelligence drawn from satellites, signals interception, cyber reconnaissance, and persistent surveillance platforms. Because in contemporary coalition warfare success is determined not by brute force alone but by the precise alignment of time, terrain, and decision-making, and within this environment the United Kingdom's paratroopers are often selected as NATO's first physical presence inside contested territory, not because the mission is symbolic, but because their training, doctrine, and operational culture are built around rapid insertion, independent action, and integration with allied air and intelligence assets. And as planners evaluate potential objectives such as airfields, transport hubs, communication nodes, and key terrain features, the logic of an airborne operation becomes clear, as these targets often lie beyond the immediate reach of ground forces yet exert disproportionate influence over the wider battle space, and seizing them early can disrupt enemy command structures, deny freedom of movement, and accelerate NATO's operational tempo. And once the decision is made, the mission transitions from strategic planning to execution, with British paratroopers entering an intensive preparation phase that
tracking their movement.
Emphasizes adaptability over rigid planning, because airborne operations are inherently vulnerable to friction caused by weather, navigation errors, electronic interference, or unexpected enemy movement, and for this reason paratroopers are trained to operate on intent rather than instruction, ensuring that even when communications are degraded or plans must change at the last moment, the force continues to move toward the strategic objective, and as the assault force assembles in forward staging areas, the integration between land and air components becomes absolute, with Royal Air Force crews coordinating closely with NATO transport, escort, and electronic warfare assets to synchronize flight routes, suppression of enemy air defenses, and deception measures designed to create a narrow window in which transport aircraft can penetrate hostile airspace with acceptable risk. And during this phase emission control is critical, as radio silence, limited electronic signatures, and deceptive routing reduce the likelihood of early detection, and when aircraft such as the A400M or C-17 lift off under cover of darkness, the mission enters a phase where reversal is no longer an option, because airborne forces cannot disengage once committed, and every mile flown deeper into hostile territory increases both the risk and the consequences of failure. And inside the aircraft, paratroopers conduct final equipment checks, review terrain imagery, and mentally rehearse actions on landing, fully aware that once they exit the aircraft they may be isolated, outnumbered, and operating without immediate reinforcement. And when the aircraft reaches the release point, the transformation from transport to combat platform is instantaneous, as jump lights illuminate, doors open to rushing air, and the assault force exits into the night, descending rapidly through a battle space shaped by radar coverage, air defense systems, and environmental uncertainty. And unlike historical mass drops, modern NATO airborne operations emphasize dispersion over concentration, deliberately spreading forces across multiple landing zones to reduce vulnerability while accepting the challenge of rapid regrouping as the price of survivability. And as parachutes deploy and silhouettes drift across the night sky, the paratroopers are briefly at their most exposed, relying on altitude, speed, and electronic masking rather than firepower for protection. And once on the ground, the emphasis shifts immediately to consolidation, with soldiers cutting away parachutes, securing weapons, and moving toward rally points using pre-planned navigation techniques designed to account for disorientation, terrain obstacles, and enemy patrols, because the first minutes after landing are often the most dangerous. And as small units regroup, they establish local security and begin advancing toward objectives without delay, understanding that speed denies the enemy the time needed to organize an effective
bandits are passing overhead. Maintain
response.
visual.
And as the paratroopers move through unfamiliar terrain, they operate under mission command principles that empower junior leaders to adapt to unfolding situations while remaining aligned with NATO's broader operational framework. And intelligence support remains continuous, with unmanned systems, airborne surveillance, and allied reconnaissance feeding real-time updates that allow the force to avoid strong points, exploit gaps, and approach objectives from unexpected directions. And when first contact occurs, it is managed with controlled aggression designed to suppress resistance quickly while preserving momentum, because the purpose of the airborne assault is not prolonged engagement but the rapid seizure of key terrain intact. and in scenarios where the objective is an airfield, the focus is on neutralizing perimeter defenses, securing control infrastructure, and preventing demolition of runways and fuel facilities, as the intact capture of such sites dramatically
Move out, stay frosty.
accelerates NATO's ability to
Contact
project
left
power, and once the objective is secured, the operation enters its most demanding phase as the paratroopers transition from assault to defense, establishing layered security, clearing remaining threats, and preparing for inevitable counterattacks launched by enemy forces seeking to reclaim lost ground. And during this phase, the airborne force relies heavily on NATO's integrated capabilities, including close air support, persistent surveillance, and aerial resupply delivered under contested conditions, while maintaining constant vigilance against infiltration, indirect fire, and armored probes, and every hour the paratroopers hold the objective expands NATO's operational freedom, allowing follow-on forces to deploy, aircraft to land, and logistics to flow, gradually transforming what began as a high-risk insertion into a sustainable foothold. And as additional NATO units arrive, the balance of power shifts decisively, but the role of the UK Paratroopers remains critical, as they continue to provide security, reconnaissance, and rapid reaction capability, ensuring that the transition from airborne assault to conventional operations occurs smoothly and without disruption. And this ability to bridge phases of warfare is what makes British paratroopers so valuable within NATO doctrine, as they do not merely seize ground but enable the alliance to exploit success, and as the operational picture stabilizes, the paratroopers either integrate into the expanding battle plan or prepare for redeployment, having fulfilled their function as the force that unlocked access for the alliance. And this is why within NATO planning circles UK paratroopers are viewed not simply as elite infantry but as strategic enablers whose actions in the opening hours of a conflict can shape the trajectory of an entire campaign, demonstrating NATO's capacity for rapid, decisive action and reinforcing the credibility of collective defense in an era defined by uncertainty, competition, and the constant risk of escalation.